Welcome back to another episode of Kate and Isaiah Living Large. I'm Isaiah.
And I'm Kate.
And on this episode, we're going to talk about beauty pageants. But before we begin, you got an update?
I do. I'm actually performing at the Woodstock Dooryard Arts Festival tomorrow night. That's Thursday, July 18th. I'm hosting a comedy show, and I'm super excited about it. Dooryard's a festival I helped found way back in 2009. So it feels really poignant and exciting and wonderful to come back as a performer.
Almost like a homecoming?
Almost like a homecoming. There'll be lots of pageantry.
Oh my goodness gracious me.
Which brings us to our topic.
Yes. So from what I understand, you sent me a article. There is no Miss New Brunswick this year.
And I know when I moved to Woodstock, New Brunswick, I thought pageants had died in the 60s.
Yeah.
70s. Like, I didn't know they were even a thing that still happened, because I don't think there's been a pageant in the St. John area
in a very, very long time.
as long as I can remember anyway. But when I moved to Woodstock, pageants are still a really big deal in more rural communities around the province, including the Miss New Brunswick pageant, which took place every year as part of the Woodstock Old Home Week. So they get pageant winners from around different communities in the province, and they compete in the way that we've all seen on TV. No swimsuit competitions or anything that I remember, but like an evening gown, casual wear, a talent. There were lots of singers and dancers and all kinds of things, and then they'd be awarded the Miss New Brunswick crown. And we were approaching, like I'm part of it, for the 69th pageant, and they no longer exist. So the Miss New Brunswick pageant had to call it quits. They're just waning interest. Amalgamations around the province have caused like communities that would have had 2 or 3 candidates to have one.
Okay.
And they just aren't enough applicants to be a pageant, to have a pageant. And that got me to thinking about pageants generally, who they appeal to, who gets represented there, and who doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, to me, pageants are an interesting topic because it's like, I don't know. On one hand, to me, they're kind of gross, but I'm sure to some people they're like the end all be all of what life is to them.
Absolutely. Like, I know that, oh my gosh, I have an itchy nose. Somebody stop thinking about me. For me, my pre-notion about what pageants was that they were like, were kind of defined by movies and television. So they were only for thin, pretty people, and they were kind of vapid. But what I saw when I actually started covering pageants, it sounded weird, in like 2009, 2010, is that, yes, there are a lot of very attractive young ladies, but they're also really talented and really nice people, and that's lauded as much as the beauty portion of it. In fact, more probably. And there are lots of scholarships that people could get and things like that. Like, it wasn't all what I thought, but it wasn't all perfect either, if that makes any sense. Yeah,
I mean, when I think of pageant, I definitely have the thought of the Big Orange Man. Was it Miss Universe or was
Big Orange Man? You're referring to Donald Trump,
yes.
President Donald Trump.
Yeah, it's very creepy to me, like men sitting creeping on young ladies.
Yeah,
that's my image of what a pageant is.
Young ladies in their bikinis.
And,
and he was involved with like the Miss USA pageants, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And then the Miss Teen USA, which also has a brand of creepy that I am not a fan of.
Right.
And the ones like the local shows that you'd see were not like that at all. However, I never really saw myself represented at them.
Yeah, that's the big thing too, is that there is definitely a body type in which is definitely
lends itself. And part of that, I think, is people who would have the confidence to get up there and put an evening gown on and compete. Like, I never would have any interest in competing in a pageant because I'd be like, why? Nobody wants that. And so the question comes like, would that be my own doing, or would that be society telling me that, or is that actually the way the pageant's laid out? Would people actually sneer at me?
That's an interesting one, because I don't. Again, I think that it just lends itself to a certain body type. Is that's what everyone sees on TV. That's what everyone sees in movies. So that's just what we expect, I guess.
And having said that, there's also generally an age of which pageants are geared at, and that's, late teens, early 20s. Until now, another New Brunswick facet to this pageant story. And I don't know if you all find this as interesting as I do. And I think I got the pageant bug, not that I ever wanted to compete or really just as a mark of society, but there's a woman who lives in Rossay, whose name I forget right now, who just qualified at 57 years old or 58 years old for the Miss Universe Canada pageant. So she's going to go compete in, I'm assuming Toronto, but somewhere in central Canada, for this Miss Universe Canada pageant at 58 years old.
Good for her.
And that's, I think, next week. I think the competition starts July 20th is what I read on the CBC. But this is something she's wanted to do. She's competed in dozens of pageants in her life, and they removed the age barrier.
Yeah, you said it was 18 to 28 or something like that was the original age barrier.
Yeah. So when I see a story like that of somebody who, is committed to that life and wants to compete and has a barrier removed, well, that's kind of a nice story.
Yeah, no, and there's definitely things like that. There's I think there's a pageant that's specifically a plus size pageant that happens now too.
Is it called Fatty Pageant?
No, I don't think that's what it's called. But I think that also exists from what I remember seeing stuff online about. But I'm not ingrained in the pageant universe. Honestly, again, like you said, I guess I thought pageants had kind of died out, except for in the States where it's wild.
Yeah, as did I. And I guess my question, the question to pose or point of contention or debate is, are we living in a world that we should support some level of pageantry? What's the harm in having people get dressed up and have a talent and use their skills to attract attention in a positive way and get scholarships or whatever the prize money may be, as long as it's inclusive and remove those barriers? Or is it something we should just let die and have that happen in other ways? Like a talent show instead of a pageant? I think that's what you're kind of gearing towards, right? Is not a pageant, because a pageant has some connotation of, attractiveness, quote unquote, femininity versus a talent show in which it is specifically around the talent. But it goes beyond. For a pageant, it goes beyond just the talent and the looks. It goes to poise and presentation and the whole package, as opposed to just you're a really good singer.
I guess, but I mean,
and I don't know the answer.
To me, but the talent show also goes that, right? It's not just you're a good singer; it's you are a good entertainer.
Yeah.
Right. Or you can speak very poignantly and well. Right. That's it. It's not like a Canada's Got Talent style. I guess that's kind of the thing, but it's not based around music. It's based around other talents, right?
Yeah. Or so a pageant.
Not well.
No, I know.
I think the word pageant is what I'm hung up on.
Yeah.
I think that's the word,
because it has connotations.
Yes. That's the big one, right? Is that it's got connotations, that it's specifically for female, specifically for there is point on attractiveness, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think 100%. Now it goes back to what defines attractiveness.
Whatever the judges think.
Right. And who are the judges? So, yeah. And I don't know. And maybe it's silly, but I just want to be crowned Miss America. Okay.
Okay, fine.
But they'll find those nude pictures. I'm just kidding. None of that is true. I don't want to be Miss America, nor do I have nude pictures floating around.
I don't have a crown. I'm sure I have a tiara somewhere. By me, I mean, that's the royal we. My wife definitely has at least 3 tiaras somewhere around here.
That's hilarious. But, So this actually, I'm going to introduce another point of this topic. Other thing I covered when I was in Woodstock on the pageant beat, so to speak, which I was none too pleased about in my mid-20s, going, this is so wrong, because I knew everything about feminism and life in general, were Little Miss pageants.
So I am 100% against those.
Yeah, me too.
I'm like at 18, 19 up, that, I mean, you're still not an adult, but at least you understand what's going on. When you are like 10,
9, 8, 7, 6,
then your parent is putting you in that to either be a reflection of them or something, and I am against that kind of thing.
Well, in some places, and again, having actually watched one or two or three, actually, I saw Little Miss Heartland and Little Miss Carleton County. There are some kids that absolutely loved it. They loved embracing the stage, and it was an opportunity for them to get stage time, and it was fun and it was cute, and I have really no issue with that, as any more than them joining dance or playing t-ball or anything else that brings them joy. Because there are some kids that get, I would have been a kid that got genuine joy from being on stage.
Yeah, I mean,
but then there was this one. Oh my goodness. It was her mom or her grandma, either an old mom or a young grandma, can't tell you, was forcing her to be there. And she did not want to take that stage. And she kept trying to leave the stage. And the grandmother literally got on stage with her and pushed her out. And I was like, this is absolutely wrong. This should not be happening. This is so... Why are you forcing your child into this? What in the John Benet Ramsey is this?
Yeah, no, and that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think even though the kids are having fun, or at least up there looking like they're having fun, I still think it's wrong.
Then how do you feel about have you ever seen pictures of little girls dance troupes where they're almost overly made up? And
that's still a little different because that's a group activity. It's a bunch of people. It's exercise.
Yeah, good point.
I find that a little different than I do.
Yeah,
dressing them up to throw them in front of a bunch of old men to judge.
Well, they're not old men who are judging these, I think, but necessarily. Yeah, there's a whole creep vibe there, and there really is kind of a creep vibe about the older pageants as well.
Yes.
If you let yourself go down that road. But I guess for me, what it comes down to for adults, or even 16 and up, I'll give you, because you've got a brain at 16, hopefully.
Kind of.
Nobody's forcing you to do something at 16,
right?
Is you're making a decision to pursue that yourself, and as long as you're not hurting other people, I see no issue with it. But the minute there's some kind of coercion at play, or it matters a little bit too much,
right?
I think that's not great.
No, not really. I think that's kind of the case in most things, to be honest.
Oh yeah,
most sports, even kids kids sports, even with that whole side of things too. It's even though there's exercise involved, which I think that side of things is great. I think once it becomes kids being pushed too hard to be the next Wayne Gretzky, and that then it becomes too much.
Parents yelling on the sidelines in anything, whether it's pageants or sports or whatever, that's a lot. If you're screaming at your kid or your ref,
yeah,
you should probably check yourself.
Right? No, 100%. Because again, sports and stuff that's exercise. That's definitely something that needs to be promoted, but
yeah,
it becomes a negative thing if the parents are overly pushy and overly trying to push that side thing.
Right.
The same thing I feel like for pageants is I don't find there's no real exercise involved in a pageant, so that's why I can kind of draw the line a little bit more.
But there's performance.
Yes,
I think performance is not to be underrated.
No, I think, but again, I think the talent show can separate that out.
Yeah, fair.
like separate out the strutting across the stage portion of it.
Yeah.
And dial it down to a talent show.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm okay with that because that's a talent that's exercising some sort of skill,
right?
That kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, on that note, I think that wraps up our topic. Let us know what you think about pageants and all the pageantry and the eradicate or the end of the Miss New Brunswick contest and the 58-year-old from Rothesay heading to.
Yes. Or if you have any experience in pageantry or talent shows or anything like that.
Tell us where we're wrong.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely want to hear from everybody. Yeah. But until next week, where can people find you on the internet?
They can find me at that Caitlin, Kate D on Instagram. We can find us at Kate and Isaiah Living Large on Facebook. What about you?
I am at Maritime Brews on all the social medias. And we continue to have our Buy Me a Coffee up if you wish to donate. And until next week, bye.
Bye.